Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all. Welcome to the sixth lecture from the sixth module. From this lecture, I am going to discuss about the last function of management, that is, controlling function. This part of the syllabus consists of the meaning of controlling, different types of control, the requirements of control, and different methods used for controlling, and the different approaches to controlling. First of all, I am going to discuss about the introduction to controlling. After the plans are put into action, there can be several hurdles in the achievement of goals. Results may fall short of targets. Direction may be faulty or environmental condition may bring surprises. Therefore, management must find out what is going wrong, what changes in plans and directions are required, and what must be done to set things right. This is the function of control. Actually, controlling is that managerial function which seeks to ensure an absolute conformity of actual performance by organizational personnel with the planned standards to facilitate the most effective and efficient attainment of enterprise objectives. Which means, controlling is a function of management which tries to ensure the activities carried on by business organizations are going on the desired direction, or the activities or the functions performed by or the duties performed by the employees of the organizations are going to achieve the target of the organization or the objectives of the organization. According to Kuntz and O'Donnell, managerial control implies the measurement of accomplishment against the standard and the corrections of deviation to assure attainment of objectives according to plans. From that definition, you can understand that controlling function deals with the measurement of actual performance and comparison of the actual performance with the standards set by the organization and taking corrective measures to ensure the attainment of the objectives of the organization. Thus, control may be defined as the continuous process of verifying whether actions are being taken as planned and taking corrective action to ensure that events conform to plans as closely as possible. That means every effort done by or every effort taken by the manager is trying to ensure that the events or the activities carried on by the organizations are conform to the standards set by the organization or the plans prepared by the organization. Okay, let's see the nature or the features of controlling. The first one is control process is universal. Control process consists of the same elements irrespective of the type of the organization or function to be controlled. It is the responsibility of every manager to regulate ongoing activity and to keep the operations focused towards the goals. Each and every organization needs to done controlling function of management in order to ensure their activities are going on the desired direction or they are going to achieve their objectives. Then coming to the second feature of control, control is a continuous process. As long as an organization exists, some sort of control is required. Because without controlling of the activities performed by the organization, there will not be any chances for them to ensure the success of the organization or the attainment of the objectives of the organization in the planned manner. Then coming to the third one, control is forward looking. Control aims at future because one can control future events and not the past. However, control is in the nature of follow-up to other functions of management, but the corrective action decided on the basis of past experience is taken for future. That means even the controlling will be exercised on the basis of the past performance. They are doing such practices in order to ensure the future is going on the decided direction. So we can consider controlling as a forward looking function. And when we consider the other functions of management, we need to consider that controlling function is simply looking back to the other functions of management or looking back to the effectiveness of other functions of management, whether we are able to prepare the effective and efficient plans for the organization, whether we have made a better organization structure, whether we have selected the most suitable candidates for the organization, etc. Then coming to the fourth nature of controlling, control involves measurement. To control means to check or monitor actual performance, to keep a watch on activities. Evaluation and measurement is the head of controlling process. So the function of control involves the measurement of actual performance of the people of the organization or the departments of the organization. Then coming to the next feature, that is control is a influence process. Control seeks to structure events and to condition behavior. It is designed to curb undesirable trends and to shape the pattern of future events. It induces people to conform to certain norms and standards. That means the controlling function of the management influences all the activities that is done by an organization. They are trying to ensure that the activities are going on a predefined pattern. Then coming to the sixth one, management control is a system. Management control is a system consisting of certain interdependent elements. Example, goal or standard, sensory devices to monitor events, mechanism to detect and analyze deviation, and adjustment or corrective elements. Okay, these are the features or the nature of controlling. Then coming to the next topic, that is stages of controlling or the basic control process. The steps or the stages involved in a controlling process are: the first one is setting up of standards or the establishment of standards of performance. The process of controlling commences with the determination of standards of performance for all phases of the organizational activity. Standards of performance might be described as rational targets of performance, which are and must be reasonably capable of attainment and which subsequently become the yardstick of standards of comparison for judging actual performance against these. The standards could be broadly classified as tangible and intangible. Tangible standards are those which are capable of being expressed in numerical terms, and intangible standards are standards which cannot be expressed in numerical terms, and such standards are those which deal with the qualitative aspects of functioning of the enterprise and are not capable of being expressed in directly and specifically in numerical terms, which includes morale of the employees, competence of the managers, reputation of the enterprise, etc. When an organization is setting standards of performance, they need to ensure that their standards must be practical. That means that can be achievable for the employees performing the job, and that should be scientific, and they need to set the standards based on some scientific observations, and the standards must be expressed in numerical terms, and standard must be simple to understand for the employees, and the standards set by the organization should concentrate on the results for the organization, etc. Then coming to the second stage of controlling, that is measurement of actual performance or measuring of actual performance. In this stage, the organization will measure the performance of the employees and the departments of the organization. Then coming to the third stage of controlling, that is comparison of actual performance with the standards. The management will compare the actual performance of the employees and departments with the standards given to them. It will help the organization to identify any deviations from the standards of performance given to the employees or departments. Then coming to the fourth stage of controlling, that is analysis of deviations. After the comparing performance with the standards, if there is any deviations from the desired results, the management will analyze the reason and causes of such deviations. The causes of deviations of actual performance from the standards might be happen because of some factors like the changes in the external environmental factors, or maybe changes in the internal environmental factors of an organization, imperfections in planning, organizational defects, staffing defects, then maybe because of the flaws in directing techniques followed by the organization, etc. Then coming to the last stage of controlling, that is corrective actions or undertaking suitable remedial actions. The final step in the controlling process is undertaking suitable remedial or corrective actions to bring performance back on the planned track. While undertaking remedial action, the management must have a strategy to infuse changes in the internal environment or resort to modification and improvements in managerial functions, as it cannot do much about external environmental factors. The basic management philosophy in this regard being that only the controllable factors or situation can be and must be controlled, and the uncontrollable things better left to their natural course. Okay, these are the stages of controlling process or the basic control process. You can consider this topic also as the elements of controlling. Then coming to the next topic, that is types of controlling. Depending on the time at which the corrective actions is taken, controls are of three types. First one is feedback control, second is concurrent control, and feed forward control. Let's see the meaning of feedback control. Traditionally, control was viewed as a historical or post-action control. Under it, results are measured after the performance. Such measurements provides information about how goals are being achieved. This information is known as feedback, and on this basis corrective actions is taken. It involves taking a completed activity and learning from mistakes. For example, by monitoring complaints from discharged patients about billing errors, a hospital can learn about problems in the billing process. Therefore, correction occurs after the event. Feedback control is the process of adjusting future action on the basis of the information about past performance. It is not possible to go back and correct the past performance. Feedback control is like closing the gate after the horse is gone. The corrective action is taken after the fact. Therefore, costs tend to increase and deviations persist. Okay, then let's see a feedback loop of management control or the stages of the feedback controlling process. It is same as that of the basic control process. It starts from determination of desired performance or the setting of standards. Then actual performance will take place. Then they will measure the actual performance of the employees and the departments. Then they will compare the actual performance with the standards. Then coming the identification of deviations. Then they will analyze the causes of deviation. Then they will prepare a program of corrective action. Then implementation of the corrective actions made by the corrective measures taken by the organization. Then coming to the second type of controlling, that is concurrent control. It is known as real-time or steering control. It involves monitoring and adjusting ongoing activities and processes to ensure compliance with the standards. Concurrent control occurs while an activity is still taking place. For example, the navigator of a ship adjusts its movements depending upon the direction of destination, obstacles and other factors. In industry, control chart is an example of concurrent control. Fund flow analysis and network planning are also examples of such control. Then coming to the third type of controlling, that is feed forward controlling. This control system anticipates the problem that the management is likely to encounter in future and identifies these steps to be taken to overcome them. It attempts to anticipate deviations in advance of the problem. Therefore, it is also known as predictive control or pre-control. It is a more aggressive approach to control because correction can be made before the system output is affected. Preventive maintenance program is an example of feed-forward control. It is employed to prevent a breakdown of a plant and machinery. Another example of feed-forward control is the cash budget used to forecast next year's flow of cash so as to avoid shortage or excess of cash. However, feed-forward control is costly. Moreover, it may not be possible to do continuous monitoring for some activities of the organization. Feedback control involves a time lag in the process of correction. Feed-forward control attempts to remove the limitation of time lag in the taking corrective action. Feed-forward control is likely to be most effective when the following guidelines are followed. Like thorough planning and analysis must be done to ensure that detection of deviations from input standards is credible. Deviations from input standards must be highly competent to predict the organizational problems. Careful discrimination must be applied in selecting input variables. Data on input variables must be regularly collected and assessed to predict problems. And preventive action must be taken in time to avoid impending trouble. Okay, these are the different types of control systems or controlling. Then coming to the next topic, that is difference between feedback and feed-forward controlling. You know that in case of feedback controlling system, it measures only the output of the process or output of the organization. But in case of feed-forward control, they are trying to measure the inputs of the organization in order to avoid the future errors or future mistakes. Then the next difference is feedback control is a submissive approach, but feed-forward control is an aggressive approach to controlling because they are trying to avoid the errors before they will take place. But in case of feedback control system, they are trying to rectify the errors only after the happening of the errors. They are trying to change their future activities on the basis of their past performance. But feed forward controlling is trying to predict the future and change their activities according to the assumptions made by the managers about the future of the organization. Then coming to the next difference, that is feedback controlling is a costless approach and feed forward is a costly approach, because suppose an organization wants to predict the future of the organization, they needs to invest more money and more effort for that purpose in order to predict the future of the organization or future conditions of the business. But in case of feedback controlling system, they are simply trying to analyze the past performance of the organization to change their future actions. So it is a less costly approach for the organization. Then coming to the next difference, that is feedback controlling involves a time lag in the process of correction, because they will be able to correct the errors only after the analysis of the past performance of the organization. But feed forward controlling removes the limitation of time lag in taking corrective actions. They are trying to correct the mistakes before actual performance is taken place. Then coming to the next difference, that is feedback control system provides less benefit to the organization and feed forward control system is most benefited for the organization, because that means by using the feedback controlling system, the organization will not be able to avoid the past losses made by the organization. But in case of feed forward controlling, an organization can avoid the losses before it take place in the organizational activities. Then let's see a simple diagram of comparison of feedback and feed forward control systems. From this diagram, you can understand that in case of feed forward controlling system, they are taking corrective actions before the process are started by the organization. They are trying to change their inputs or correct their inputs on the basis of the predictions made by their managers. Then coming to the second one, that is simple feedback control or feedback control process, and they are taking corrective actions only after the outputs are made by the organization. They are trying to change their inputs according to the output made by the organization. Okay, these are the topics I wish to discuss in the first lecture of controlling function of management. From this lecture, you need to study about the meaning or the definition of controlling, the nature or the features of controlling, and the basic process of controlling or the stages of controlling. Then the three types of controlling, that is feedback controlling, concurrent controlling, and feed forward controlling. And the last topic is that the difference between simple feedback and feed forward systems. Okay, thank you.